the qualifiers process, and we now have the results of our qualifiers to show you today. My name is Bento. I am here alone today to talk about these 58 teams and tell you how they did. Many teams meeting the expectations set for them, many teams surprising everyone in one direction or another. We have 32 teams qualified for this tournament, and we are about to find out who has placed where in the bracket. Before we jump right into things, just while I'm mentioning just various stuff, I do want to mention that the seeding results did come in after the prediction stream that we had. A couple things have changed since then. Unfortunately, as a result of the screening, Team Tunisia will no longer be able to compete in the tournament. They had enough players screened out of their team to where they were put under the minimum number of players required to play the tournament. So I was in the chat for them. We hope we get to see Tunisia next year, of course. Every other remaining team should be all set to go here. We have 58 of them to go through, and we will begin by going through the teams that unfortunately were not quite able to qualify for the bracket stage. For the sake of time, we might be a little quick going through these teams while we make our way up to the qualifying teams. So forgive me if we end up speeding by anyone's country. We don't want to be here for another 3.5 hours. So with that out of the way, we start here obviously with Reunion. Weren't quite in last place last year, but I think losing Zevi really hurt them a lot more than they were able to really pull back, barely getting a 1 million team score average, but they did end up hitting that. So good stuff to Reunion. I hope to see them again next year. 57, the UAE, unfortunately a slight decline this year, down 4 places from their 53rd from last year with a 1.2 million team score average. They had a decent amount of team replacements from last year, so we'll see if they can get some stronger consistency going for the years ahead. Moving on to 56, Norway. Unfortunately, a pretty big drop for them, down from 34th last year, the largest drop out of any team. It wasn't all terrible for Norway. They did have a pretty solid No Mod 2 showing. Bismarck did have an FC on that map. MRV with the DT1 FC as well, but they unfortunately just did not have the scores to contend well enough with the other teams. They end with a 1.17 million team score average. Moving to Latvia, down from 50th last year, relatively even I suppose. 1.2 million team score average for them, not too much to really comment on here. Pretty standard across the board for them. 54, Estonia. A big drop for them as well, down from 37th last year. Losing Pra and Inari for this year ended up hurting them a bit more than they were able to overcome. We will see if they have better luck next time around. Unfortunate for them, they do end with a 1.22 million team score average. Moving to Bolivia, number 53, the first of our brand new countries to be mentioned here. Doing very, very solid for a team that was down a player to begin with, and I believe they were actually missing another one of these players on top of that for the qualifiers. So 1.27 million team score average for them, only having 6 players. Not that bad, all things considered. I hope we can see them again next year, of course. Number 52, Guatemala. Only 5 players on this roster played qualifiers. They have 6 to begin with. One of them was missing, and they still got themselves a 1.27 million team score average. So good on them as well. Number 50, Hungary. A pretty strong showing for Hungary's first time. Oh, sorry, that's Uruguay. Oh, wow. I just skipped that in my notes. That's my apologies. 51, Uruguay. Decent improvement from them compared to last year, up from 58th. Even with losing a player from screening, they were still able to improve their placement by a decent amount. Not quite by enough to qualify for the bracket stage of the tournament, unfortunately, still clocking in a 1.32 million team score average for them. Number 50, now on to Hungary, because I was really excited to talk about them. Many varying things have happened here, but Hungary beat the United States, spoiler alert, on No Mod 1. They were about 1,000 points off from beating Germany as well, so I'm very interested to see if they will be able to pull off any more of these scores into the future. 1.28 million team score average for them, unfortunately not quite able to match that on any of the other picks in the qualifier, but congrats to them for getting their 1 point in. Number 49, Kuwait. A pretty sizable jump upwards in average team score here compared to the teams below it. Kuwait pulling in a 1.47 million average team score. Sola on this roster had a couple of FCs on this roster almost. He was very close on maps like Nomad 1. Pretty decent Nomad 2 score on this team. Average, obviously, you see them breaking the top 32 on that. So I'm very excited to see them in the future if they can get some people to get their mod skills up for the years to come. They are missing a player, obviously, so if they can get a roster with 8 players, they might do pretty well in the years ahead of us. 48 Turkey, hitting above the 1.5 million team score average mark now, 1.52 million for them. Very solid showing on the free mod pick there. You see them at number 22. Unfortunately, this is a pretty big drop for them. The first team that we have encountered dropping out of the qualifying teams of the tournament, dropping 17 places all the way down here. Very unfortunate to them, but better luck next year for certain. Number 47, Serbia, a 10-point upgrade for Serbia, up from 57th last year. Getting another year to better hone their consistency really did a lot for them this year. Fantastic Nomad 1 score from them, pretty solid Hard Rock 2 as well. Enemy Please had a decent showing on this team, 450k average over all 11 maps is nothing to scoff at for certain. 1.59 million team score average for the team. Moving on to 46th, Switzerland. Very unfortunate to see Switzerland all the way down here, dropping 20 points all the way down. But, yeah, they will unfortunately not be qualifying. Amatsuko Uto almost had an FC on the Nomad 1 pick that reflected pretty well into the score they got on that map, being number 17. Zakatel and Azur both had above 400k on that Hidden 2, which are 2 of the better scores on that pick. That was certainly one of the harder maps in the qualifier pool. 1.57 million team score average for them. Better luck next time for certain. I know they're capable of putting off some pretty good scores in the future. Number 45, Lithuania, with a great Hard Rock average and a solid DT2 score as well. 1.66 million team score average here. Another decent bump up from the teams under them. They are relatively even across the board of their placing. Obviously, the Hard Rocks excluded. But definitely a very notable showing for them, I would say. Number 44, Israel. Very solid improvement from Israel. Up 15 places from their 59th from last year. Look at that Hard Rock average right there. Very outstanding from Israel on that front. One of the best players on this team got screened off their roster and they didn't opt to replace them with anyone, so they're stuck with 7 players. They were missing a second player for the qualifier lobby as well, so 1.67 million average is very good considering everything that happened for them there. Phoenix had a fantastic performance on this roster, 570k average over 8 maps, FC'd both of the Hard Rock maps, which is why you see that 13th average for them there. Very excited to see him in the future years. Number 43 is Ireland, 15th on that Nomad 2 right there. They bring in a 1.68 million team score average with only 6 players participating in qualifiers. Roughly the same placement for them as well from last year's, slight improvement if anything. Massive performance from Heavenly Moon on this roster, 514k average across all 11 maps. That mapper's buff really brought them a lot of mileage here. So it'll be very interesting to see how they can do next year. Moving on to New Zealand at number 42. Unfortunately, the Sheep Mower will not be qualifying for the tournament this year. 1.69 million team score for them. A very solid hidden average as well. Hopefully they can rebuild a little bit next year. Of course, Oyuba did have a very, very good showing overall. I believe he had a 450k average across 10 maps or something like that, which is very, very good. Moving to Belgium, remaining about the same, up by 2 places here. 1.74 million team score for them. This does unfortunately mean that our coin flip during the prediction stream was very wrong, but that's how it rolls sometimes. Unfortunate for Coney, of course. They had a couple pretty decent showings here. Obviously, you see that Hard Rock 2 and that DT1 as well. So, hope we can see them next year for certain. 40th is Greece. Fantastic improvement for Greece here. Up 12 spots from last year, and the best part about it is they only had 5 players present during qualifiers. They just had 3 players like outright missing, and they still managed to claim a 1.73 million team score average. Knee Cutter is the highlight here for sure. Amazing username aside, 462k average over 8 maps with an FC on Hard Rock 1 and an S rank on Nomad 1 as well. Number 39 is Romania. Will not be qualifying, unfortunately. They took a bit too strong of a hit from last year, down 11 placements as a result. They had a solid 1.76 million team score average regardless. Sylvian had an outstanding performance here, really saving them from going any lower. 542k average over all 11 maps. Nearly top 10 overall on Nomad 3. Had an FC on Nomad 2 and a high 96% S rank on DT2 as well. Unlucky for them, but we will see them in the future for certain. Number 38, Colombia. Pour one out for my boy Ale. They will unfortunately not be qualifying either, but they did not go too far down either. They were only down by 2 placements. 1.78 million team average for them. Fel, obviously the big highlight here, now known as Hyper Pescado. He really went hyper on this pool. 618k average over 9 maps for him. He was very close to FCing like 5 separate maps, I believe, but unfortunately was not able to get there on any of them. We hope to see them next year. Of course, that Nomad 1 score, very, very solid from them. Number 37, Denmark. Very unfortunate drop for Denmark. They will not be qualifying this year. Having lost Deaver and Uto ended up being a little bit too much for them to overcome, I think. They ended up with a 1.79 million team score average. A massive highlight for Mendes here, formerly Lamy 1. He had a great performance, 633,000 over 8 maps. The number 1 score on Fremont 1 with his 1.068 million Hard Rock FC, completely blowing everyone else's Hard Rock accuracy out of the water with a 98%. He also had FCs on Nomad 2 and Hard Rock 1, a top 10 score on Nomad 3 too. So very unfortunate that we will not get to say Mendes play this year. Number 36, Mexico, 48th place last year, so a very big improvement for them. That Hard Rock and DT average really set them above a lot of the other teams, but unfortunately, they are barely going to miss out. 1.86 million team score average for them. Chunky Goat Milk with an FC on both of the TT maps. Him and Kevin both putting up some of the great Hard Rock scores as well. Very interesting to see him. I hope we get to see more of Chunky Goat Milk. That's an awesome name. Number 35, Portugal, bumping up 6 placements, but not quite enough to make it. 1.84 million team score average for them. I think they were really set back by that Nomad 2 score. If they were a little better on that, I think they actually had a good chance of qualifying. So good to make note of that for next year. MTG with a standout performance here, 651k average over 8 maps with an FC on DT1 and a very close choke on DT2, missing a slider end basically right at the end of the map. So we will definitely hope to see Portugal next year. I'm certain that they can make it. Number 34, the Czech Republic, a solid bump up from last year's 44th, but Jajamaru barely missing out on qualifying. 1.8 million team score average for them. Of course, Jajamaru, the highlight, you have to talk about him. 580k average for the maps he was in for. Almost FC'd Hard Rock 1, put up great scores for Free Mod 1 and Nomad 3 as well. Definitely hope we could see more of them next year. And for the second year in a row, our seed number 33, barely missing out on the bracket stage, is going to be Kazakhstan. Poor Kazakhstan, man. The best of the non-qualifiers 2 years in a row. Super unfortunate to see. It is very funny because they are actually sitting in winner side finals or grand finals in another country-based 5-digit tournament that is currently ongoing, but not having Revexi and Poison on this team is really going to end up hurting them, I think. They finished with a 1.89 million team score average. A very clear highlight on Hard Rock 2 there, and a lot of that score was thanks to Enderman 2010, who had a monster performance, 584k average over all 11 maps with a Nomad 2 FC to match that. He was 700k or higher for 6 separate maps. Great performance from him. We will hope to see that they may qualify for this tournament one day. Surely they will break the curse eventually. But on to our qualifying teams now. The blessing they received from Dominic was able to carry Italy into the bracket stage of this tournament. Big congratulations to them for qualifying, even with a full roster reset. Obvious highlight here from Freewake. FC on Hard Rock 2, a near FC on Nomad 4. In for all 11 maps and averaged almost 500,000 on the dot. Dire Cause as well had a Nomad 1 FC. Good showing from him. Good showing for the whole team, really. Very happy to see them have the opportunity to show what they are made of this year. The DT average, I didn't even notice that. Ukraine. At number, you skipped, thank you. Okay, I thought I was going crazy. Now reaching the teams with a 1.9 million team score average here. 31st, we have Spain. Very good showings here from Zilva and Paladex. Unfortunately, not quite high as a seed as last year, but they are here to play regardless. Very solid, just really overall, that DT2 and especially the free mod score really putting them up there with the rest of these teams. The hidden one as well, and the Hard Rock 2. Now moving on to number 30, Ukraine. Fantastic improvement from last year. They were unable to quite make it into bracket in 2022, but they are here to play this time up 12 spots. Even having lost one of their players from screening and not opting to replace them, they are stuck with 7 players. But they clock in at a 1.97 million team score average. Unsurprisingly, you nailed the big highlight here. 511k average across 10 maps. No Mod 2 FC, as well as one of the best hidden 1 scores across everyone. Really bringing them up to that 18th hidden average that you see here. We'll see if they can make do with the 7 players they have. Definitely looking forward to seeing them play. Number 29, Austria. They managed to qualify even a little bit better than their seed last year. Their team was actually pretty consistent all around. They had pretty good activity from all 8 players present, and everyone contributed at least 1 or 2 very solid scores over the course of the lobby. They clock in with a 1.94 million team score average. Fantastic No Mod 1 score that you see there. I think that really put them over the edge in terms of qualifying, so I will definitely be looking forward to seeing Austria on some of the consistency picks. Number 28, Malaysia is at 28. I'm not really sure what to say about this result. They were 20th last year, down to 28th now, even with what I would argue is a pretty improved roster. A couple of players just had super unfortunate performances compared to what I would expect them to be at, I suppose. Obviously, missing players like Floth and Hanami from last year not helping them out on that end either. I mentioned during the prediction stream, I said I would not be surprised to see them at first. I would not be surprised to see them pretty low. I wasn't sure at one point if they were going to actually qualify or not, but they do squeak in there. Duo X did at least manage to get himself to a 400k plus average over the maps he did play, but Bleths and Huai are the highlights of this roster for me. Bleths in for 8 maps, Huai in for 9, both managed to get a 500k plus average. Bleths pulling in a Nomad 2 FC and Huai having a fantastic Nomad 4 score. So we'll see what they can do. I really think they're a lot better than this qualifier result will suggest, so hopefully they can pull themselves through the bracket a little. I would definitely keep an eye out on them. That was a terrible voice crack, Jesus. Number 27, Peru. Even with the losses they suffered, obviously dropping outside of that top 16 that they were in last year, Peru was still able to put up a qualifying placement with a 1.99 million team score average, barely missing that 2 million mark that we're about to start hitting with the next team. Massive highlight on the Hard Rock 2 score here, off the back of Mick having the number 1 Hard Rock 2 in div with his FC. He also had a pretty solid Nomad 2 FC and had a fantastic 655k average over 9 maps. Takodachi, I believe, had a Nomad 4 FC as well for them. Or at least he got a very close S rank if he didn't quite hit the FC. So I'm super looking forward to seeing this team play. Number 26, Thailand. One of the biggest hits out of any team here. They do drop 20 spots all the way down to 26th, but thankfully they were still able to play in the bracket. This is our first team to hit 2 million average team score with a respectable 2.06 million. Fantastic hidden average for this team. You see them there alongside that DT2 score. Simple got himself a hidden 1FC, one of very few. He had a pretty good qualifier showing, as did Vixera and Bird Thongchai. I think these roster changes are going to turn out pretty alright for them going forward. They had a pretty consistent front end for this, especially from where I think people would estimate them to be without having chests on the team. I think they will do just fine. Shout out once again to Kraken Lord 420. 25th, China. A bit of a drop for them, -8 from where they were last year, but they're holding on a flat 2 million team score for them. They do manage to rake in a top 3 score off of Nomad Nomad 4, I should say, off the back of 3 S ranks from XZ1Z, Eiko Tokura, and Hermit. I think XZ1Z and Eiko Tokura's plays might have been FCs as well, but it's hard to tell because everyone is dropping like every slider end ever on that map. Not to overshadow their Nomad 2 score, though, they had 2 800Ks from Hermit and Azurius on that as well. Almost their whole team was above 400k average for the map pool. They had a pretty consistent lobby presence across their whole team, across the board. So very good stuff to them. I'm excited to see them on many, many different maps. Number 24, Sweden, plus 11 from last year with a team score average of 2.02 million. No idea why Seagate thought they weren't going to do, or they're going to struggle to qualify maybe, but this roster looks completely ready here, pulling in top 10s on Nomad 1 and Nomad 3. A lot of people said that Nomad 3 was the hardest map in the whole pool, so I think having a top 10 on that really reflects well on them. Seagate, of course, with their superstar player here, FC's on Nomad 1 and DT1, averaging 540k over 10 maps. A couple of FC contributions from Ederulu on Nomad 1 and Headhunter on DT2 as well. I am looking forward greatly to seeing the Swedish team here. Number 23, Finland, not quite able to pull out that Omega random 4th place seed they got last year. They finished that tournament as 25th place as a reminder. But they are certainly looking very strong this year as well. I think they will surpass that placement personally. 2.02 million team score average here. Fairly consistent across the board, which is nice to see with obvious highlights on Hidden 1 and Hard Rock 1. A massive showing here from Musa in particular, nearly 700,000 average across 9 maps. He was the number 7 individual qualifier across the entire, the whole thing. FC's on Nomad 1, Nomad 4, and Hidden 1, and then S rank on DT2, having one of the better Hidden 2 scores as well, which is one of the harder maps in this map pool. Very, very excited to see what he will be able to do for Finland. Speaking of fantastic solo performances, Decheg really bringing out a lot for Belarus here. He had 506k over all 11 maps with an SS on Nomad 1, one of 4 SSs that happened in this qualifier. Belarus is the most improved team out of the entire tournament, up 23 spots from a 45th place last year. And as a whole, their team is looking pretty nice. You see the fantastic Nomad average they have here. A lot of teams in this tournament, I think you'll see them having like a outstanding DT or an outstanding Hard Rock maybe. But having a solid Nomad base really shows how your team is on the core gameplay elements that really spread out into the rest of the pool, I think. Their tapping doesn't look as high as maybe some of the other teams here. Obviously, we have a lot of turbo tappers in the 5-digit range, but they are looking fantastic in mechanics otherwise, and I think that is going to take them very far here. Best of luck to Belarus in the bracket stage. Brazil at number 21, another team with a great Nomad average, and they add a 6th place Hard Rock 2 on top of that. 2.09 million average for the Brazilians here. Despite losing a lot of their players and dropping 10 ranks here, they still seem prepared to play to the best of their ability. Brazil, another roster that had great showings from their entire team, really. Leskajus with a fantastic Hidden 1 score, number 7 overall on that. Kilk with a Nomad 2 FC, Kakir with a Hard Rock 2 FC, Kete, with a great score on Nomad 4 as well. A lot of pretty good players on this team. We'll see what they can do. Slovakia at number 20. I said this was their year, and they're really not wasting the opportunity they have here. Dougie has ranked up quite a bit now, so Slovakia is really looking to take advantage of their best roster yet, clocking in a 2.13 million team score average. Obviously, you have to talk about Dougie's performance here. 630k average over 10 maps. FCs on Nomad 2 and Hard Rock 1, and near FCs on Nomad 1, Nomad 3, and DT1. S rank on Hard Rock 2 as well. He looks incredibly prepared to bring Slovakia some dubs in this bracket. Enchanted Spider also had a Hidden 2 FC, one of only 3 FCs on that map in the entire qualifier. So we shall see what the Paycheck team has in store for us this year. 19th, Chile. They remain about the same as they always have been in terms of qualifiers, between 18th and 21st for the last 3 years, and this is no exception to that. A 2.14 million team score average for the Chileans. Some good scores from a lot of players on this team, but Sifs is by and large the highlight here. 640k average over 10 maps, the number one DT2 score, number one DT1 score, and the number 2 free mod 1 score with his hidden Hard Rock FC. That really brought them up to those top 10 team placements you see on those maps. A top 15 overall performer in the qualifier. Really, he brought this team up quite a few pegs, I think, and it will be very nice to see what he can pull out once the bracket stage hits. Moving to Argentina, a sizable improvement from last year, up 7 placements. They hit a 2.13 million team score average. Very solid on the latter end of this qualifier pool. The Hard Rock Double Time and Free Mod picks went fairly well for them. Snow coming in with a DT1 FC, Keys coming in with a FC on Nomad 2. The highlight here for sure, though, is Name. He had a great qualifier for certain, 568k over 10 maps. He had a Hard Rock 1 FC and was top 20 on Hard Rock 2 and Free Mod 1. Sure do wonder what mod he played for the Free Mod. Top 20 on Nomad 3 as well. Again, probably the hardest map in the entire qualifier, so it's great to see someone who can really step up to those skill cap maps on the side of Argentina. Indonesia at number 17. Many fantastic scores from Indonesia here. Obviously, you see that Hard Rock 1 and Free Mod 1. But really consistent across the board, I would say, maybe barring those Nomad 1 and DT1 performances. Indonesia hit a 2.29 million team score average, down 3 spots from last year, but not anything super concerning for them, I would say. I'm a Cute Bunny was really their standout player here, 589,000 average over 8 maps. Number 2 score on Hard Rock 1. Very good scores on Hidden 1, Free Mod 1, and Hard Rock 2 as well. Akebono also hit 580k average over 9 maps, doing very good on the Nomad and DT picks, pulling in the number 4 DT2 score overall from him. We're getting now, obviously, to the teams with a decent number of contributors, and Indonesia, I think, is a pretty good example of that. As I say, it was number 15 on Free Mod 1 with a near FC on the Nomad as well. So good stuff to see from Indonesia. Moving to Hong Kong. Fantastic improvement for Hong Kong. They go from barely qualifying at 29th last year to barely getting into the top 16 this year. A lot of improving players on their team from last year really helping with that. They hit a 2.28 million team score average. Great Nomad 2, Nomad 3, Nomad 4, and Hidden 2 scores here are arguably all 3 of the hardest maps in the pool with those latter 3 mentions there. So this is a team you absolutely must look out for if they can reach the later stage of the bracket. A lot of pretty good performances from the roster overall. Pandora with a 570k average over all 11 maps. EU2 with a 586k average over 9. Pandora FC'd Free Mod 1 and had the best non-scoring FC on Nomad 2. Sorry, best scoring non-FC on Nomad 2. You did FC Nomad 2 and had great Nomad 4 and Hidden 2 performances as well. Remiscute also pulling in a very strong Nomad 4 performance as well as an FC on that DT1. Very, very good showing from Hong Kong. I'm looking forward to see them play for while you and Remiscute are both at rank 5,000 now. God damn. These guys need to rank up. Sorry. South Korea, you're number 15. Another very sizable improvement for an East Asia team. SK goes up a solid 7 placements with a 2.28 million team score average. You're starting to see teams now in this top 16 that have a bunch of good scores. I believe every team from this point forward has at least 1 score in the top 5. So good job on all of these teams for getting there. You see that top 5 on the Hidden 2 there. They had a very consistent roster for this qualifier. Nobody was in for more than 7 maps. Everyone on this team had an opportunity to pull their weight, and I think they did a great job of that. 6 of the players on this team averaged above 500k, being in for 5 maps or more. YHS PhD with a DT1 FC, Checks with multiple S ranks, and a near FC on Nomad 2. New God with an S rank on both Hard Rock maps. Soramon here is the biggest highlight of them all. Number 2 on Hidden 2 out of the entire qualifier with a fantastic FC on that, which really brought them up to that top 5 on the map that you see. He had a no mod 4 S rank as well. This team is looking very, very clean, and I am very interested to see how they do. A market improvement for Australia from last year, up 9 spots up to the 14th seed here, hitting a 2.31 million team score average. You see that fantastic No Mod 3 team performance, and you can absolutely thank All Blue for that one. He was the only No Mod 3 FC in the entire qualifiers, obviously landing number 1 on that individually. Train Jumper scoring the team of DT2 FC. Whoop with a lot of very consistently good scores. He had a 600k average over the 7 maps that he played. Super Nye also hit a solid near 600k average along with a No Mod 4 FC. Some great players on this team that I think are absolutely going to go the distance. I think they are going to be a monster once we get to the later stages of the bracket with how all around good they are. You see top 15 average on every single mod pool here. So very excited to see them. Poland at number 13, no change for them. They remain as consistent as ever. 2.35 million team score average for them. Hitting some pretty decent highs, especially with that Hard Rock average you see right there. Yet another team with a very large amount of very solid players who all put in their own contributions. Yuki Binakami with a near FC on Hard Rock 1, Agent 5D with the 1x100 on Nomad 1, good hidden 1 score from him as well. Tiller XK and Makise Kurisu are the standouts here, both with a 600k average across the maps they played. Tiller with the number 3 score on Hard Rock 2 and the number 11 on Hard Rock 1, both FCs of course. Makise Kurisu with the number 2 score on DT2 and a very solid DT1 score as well. Will be very interested to see what they can pull out for the remainder of the bracket here. The United Kingdom at number 12. I'm sure Tesco's feeling pretty good about this one. The UK is looking like they haven't missed a beat, even improving their qualifying placement by 7 steps. We'll see if they can beat their actual bracket placement last year of 3rd. Jury's still out on that one, but this is the best qualifier the UK has had since 2019, clocking in at a 2.41 million team score average. 7 of the members of this UK roster had an S rank at some point or another. This is really a team that had contributions across the board. I've been talking about that. It is very important to have every member of your team able to contribute something to the team, and this team is a stellar example of that. To list off some varying contributions, Nino, My Angel, and Wingo had a 2-way FC on DT1. Humster had a 3-mod 1 no-mod FC. Topex with a no-mod 2 FC. Topex hit the elusive 900k overall score average across all 1 maps played achievement. Polski with a no-mod 1 FC as well. And the real standout from their team, Velcro Shoes, with a 660k average across their 8 maps played. The number 1 score on DT2, number 4 score on both No Mod 4 and No Mod 1. All FCs there. Of course, you see our first number 1 score here with that No Mod 4 score there. Triple S rank from Hubster, Fury Tail, and of course that FC from Velcro I just mentioned. This is certainly a team to be reckoned with, so be careful if you happen to cross them in the bracket stage. Moving to Japan, talk about a fantastic improvement. I said this was this year, I said this was their year. I'm certainly not mistaken in that they improved 19 whole placements from their 30th seed from last year. Going from barely qualifying to well within the top half of the bracket, 2.32 million team score average for them. Great contributions from the board. Scout had a very clean No Mod 2 FC. There's quite a few highlights here. Kotamori with a 600k average across his maps, providing fantastic backing on a lot of these varying picks that he was in for. Easy DT and Stonebream were the front runners for Japan this year, both 550k plus averages over 8 maps for Easy DT and for 10 maps for Stonebream. Easy DT getting himself a DT1 FC as well. Their whole team is pretty consistently churning out these map scores with 3 or 4 players above that 700k mark. Really having that skill even into your 3rd player on any given map is what really sets these higher teams apart from the teams below them. So fantastic stuff to Japan here. Moving on to Germany. The winning team from last year's iteration of the tournament, doubling their seed for this year's iteration, unfortunately barely missing on that top 8. 2.46 million average team score for them. Not quite able to play up to the levels that their team was able to last year, understandably so with how many people they lost, but the total depth of Germany can never be underestimated. You see that number 1 Hard Rock score there, number 1 Hard Rock 1, I should say. All 4 members of their team above 750k for that. Funnily enough, none of them actually FC'd it, just 4 really solid scores. Great performances across the roster for Germany. Blonder Dennis with a DT1 FC, Nura with a DT2 FC, Mankichiro super close to that Hard Rock 1 FC, literally missed one of the last notes of the map. Job Hobe is their real star here. I still don't know how to pronounce his name, but he had 631k average across all 11 maps with a No Mod 2 SS, top 20 scores on DT2, No Mod 3, and Free Mod 1. He actually had a 721k average score if you exclude his Hidden 2. And by the way, Jaden was completely missing from this qualifier lobby they played with the 7 players. This team is looking a little weaker on the hidden front, at least at the moment, but I think they do make up for it with just how good they are at everything else. I am very interested to see how that plays out for them. Vietnam at number 9, despite losing what they said was their best player due to screening, and despite losing players like Tan from just him being BWS'd out from last year. They still defy all expectations and firmly plant themselves into the top 10 here. Fantastic stuff to them with a 2.47 million team score average. Great no-mod scores outside of that no mod 3. Top 4 on all the other ones, as you can see. Plenty of plays to note on this team here. Shadow King with a near FC on no mod 2. Sono Cause with a real FC on no mod 2. Gino with a DT2 FC. Utami with a near FC on that as well. You might want to change your name, man. But the 2 clear highlights here are Fakazki and Updraft, of course, both in for 8 maps, both averaging 660k score. Fakazki with a no mod 4 FC as well as a half FC on no mod 1. They literally missed the last note of the map, but I'm calling that an FC. He gets a pass on that one, I don't care. Updraft with a no mod 2, no mod 4, and DT2 FCs. Near FC on Free Mod 1 with Hard Rock as well. This team has some fantastic skill all around. I will be watching them very intently here. Shoutouts to Vietnam. Rounding out the beginning of our top 8, it is the United States. A couple of unfortunate scores here. I still have absolutely zero idea what happened during No Mod 1, but it is really, really funny. The Americans bring a very solid 2.56 million team score average, with some fantastic performances across the board, I would say. 6 players in the top 100 of overall performers on this team, 4 of them in the top 50. Rich P2K with the number 2 No Mod 3 score, almost FCing but missing barely by the end. Cat Food number 3 on DT1 and number 9 on Free Mod 1 with Hard Rock really giving them that spawn player buff. Kisoy number 5 on No Mod 2, solid score of over 1 million there. Azurium with a Free Mod 1 No Mod FC, as well as some fantastic hidden scores all around. The real highlight here, unsurprisingly to me, is Jellium, aka N Markov. 670k average across 8 maps, 98.4% average accuracy across all of the maps as well. That is not something that you see very often in this rank range. He scores himself a No Mod 2 SS, along with the number 3 score on DT2 and more fantastic hidden scores. This is a team, genuinely, they look very capable on every mod. As long as they can have all 8 of their players playing on point on any given day, I think they are a terrifying team to go against. You can never truly count out the United States. Number 7 here, the Philippines, clocking a 2.49 million team score average, bringing themselves up for the top 8 for this year. I said that this team is hosting one of the best front ends of any team, and I am certainly not mistaken in saying that. Zyfox with a DT2 FC, Nathan with a near FC on Hard Rock 1. Yuki and Scene both placing in the top 30 in divs overall. Scene had 630k average over 9 maps. Yuki had 620k average over all 11. Seen with the number 5 score on Hidden 1, barely missing an FC there, but catching a free mod 1 Hidden FC. Yuki did very fantastic. Number 2 DT1, number 3 free mod 1 with his Hard Rock FC. Number 6 on the Hard Rock 1 as well, another great FC for him. There's really not too much for me to say here. They are looking pretty cleanly as one of the teams to look out for, a little held back by that No Mod 2 and No Mod 3, but they are looking fantastic regardless. This is one of the scariest front-end cores of the whole tournament. Number 6, Taiwan. What a fantastic team Taiwan has this year. They are looking stronger than they ever have, and that +9 seed performance improvement is really showing that here. 2.63 million team score average for them. Just to recap, I will go down the cheat sheet of this absolutely vile name collab here. Summer OO with number 30, Jingfire number 29, UA0428 is the real one. Ruyaya number 27, Daison number 26, Zefkiel number 25, Raider number 24, and Rainty number 23. You see that hidden average right there, and you see that No Mod 3 and DT1 score alongside the Hard Rock 1 as well. Some really fantastic overall scores on some really difficult maps here. The hidden segment of this qualifier pool in particular was very hard on a lot of teams, so them being up at the number 2 average there really says a lot for them. That DT1 score right there is a 4-way 1 million team score, the only team that had one of those on any map this qualifier. Not quite a 4-way FC, unfortunately. 2 of them missed right at the end, but they got pretty damn close. Hard Rock 1 FC from Summer, Jingfire right behind, but unfortunately missing right at the end. The real UA with a No Mod 2 FC. The 2 biggest highlights for this team, though, Zefkiel and Ruyaya, both landing in the top 10 of overall performers. Zefkiel had a 645k average over 9 maps, number 5 overall on No Mod 3, again really showing his skill cap potential. Top 10 on both hidden maps, FC DT1 as well. But Ruyaya, wow. I am super impressed with Ruyaya's performance. 750k average score and 97.27% average accuracy over the 8 maps that he played. For someone who is new to this tournament, that is phenomenal. FCs on No Mod 2, No Mod 4, and DT1, as well as top 10 on No Mod 3 and Hidden 1. That is absolutely a performance to be proud of if you're Ruyaya. Massive shoutouts to him and the rest of this Taiwan team. Singapore at number 5 with a 2.66 million team score average. Some very solid performances here from Singapore, moving up 3 spots towards the middle of this top 8. There were some great contributions from a couple people here. Can Never FC with a DT1 FC breaking character for the qualifiers here. Beichu with a free mod 1, No Mod FC. Toru with FCs on No Mod 1, No Mod 2, and DT1. But you cannot talk about anything other than NVRe's highlight performance here. He is the number 1 performer individually across the entire qualifier. 768k average across all 11 maps, with FCs on No Mod 2, No Mod 4, Hard Rock 1, Hard Rock 2, DT1, and DT2. He was top 33 individually on every single map except for No Mod 1. That is a performance you cannot describe any other way than absolutely stellar. Number 4, Team France, the team that I personally predicted would be the number 1 for the tournament, solidifying themselves all the way up to the top 4 teams in the bracket. 2.66 million team score average with some amazing all-around scores. Q-Mania holding down the lobby for them, 612k average over all 11 maps. Some fantastic consistency from him. FC contributions from Biotic on No Mod 1, Drackles on Hard Rock 1, Jacko on No Mod 4, and DT2, and Myes JD with a No Mod 2 FC as well. And they played the whole qualifier without Afman, so they were down a player the whole time. Very good stuff for France. Honestly, you see a lot of these. I mean, just looking at this team, right? I know for sure that this team scales insanely well into the later stages of this bracket. And them having pretty consistent all-around scores here, I think, is really telling of that to me, that they are going to be Definitely one of the teams to look out for, obviously, with the rest of these top teams for the later part of the bracket. Shoutouts to France. The number 3 team here, Team Canada. Coney told me right after the prediction stream that I was underestimating this Canadian roster super hard, and I think he hit that right on the head with how these players performed. Consistent with their 3rd place from last year with a 2.81 million team score average. Do not be fooled, Birchman is alive and well at the top of this team. 742k average for all 11 maps. That is insane for Birchman. Jolly Ranchers with 695k score average, also over all 11 maps. There's not really too much to say for them. Birchman had FCs on Nomad 1, Nomad 2, DT1, and Nomad 2, as well as a top 5 placing on Hidden 2 and a top 10 on Hidden 1. Jolly Ranchers number 6 on Hidden 2. Those two Hidden 2 performances really put them above to that number 1 score. Jolly Ranchers also had FCs on Hard Rock 1 and DT1. There's really not much to say with a team this good. You look at that hidden performance, and it really just speaks for itself. This Canadian roster is a team to look out for. I believe they were actually also missing Kevork for their... They were missing someone, I might be mistaken on who, but they played this with 7 players as well. So really good stuff for them. Before we move on to these last 2 teams, I want to note the 2 remaining teams. The qualifiers here were done using a Z-sum placement, and the last 2 teams here were within 0.02 points from each other. These 2 final teams were so goddamn close to each other, genuinely one more or one less miss from any player on any map could have completely flipped it for these 2 teams. But our number 2 team for this year's iteration of the tournament is going to be the Russian Federation. They remain in the top 2 qualifying teams with relatively little struggle from last year. They had the best average score out of any team at nearly 2.9 million team score across all maps. I was talking during the prediction stream about how this team was genuinely just comprised of 8 top players during the predictions, and they did not break that label here by any means. 4 of their players in the top 20 overall. All 8 players had an average score of 500k or higher. 5 separate players had an FC on a map. Danfi had a 99.5% incredibly close choke on DT2 to almost make a 6th. Still was over 1 million points on that score. Many highlights to go over here. Nitro with nearly 740k average over 6 maps. HRDS was 776k average over 5. Maki Bernie was 676k average over 7 with FCs on Hard Rock 2 and DT2. K&D had the number 3 overall score on Hidden 2, and Light 135 was one of their best players overall, 725k over 8 maps with FCs on Nomad 1, Nomad 2, and DT2, and very close to Fremod 1 as well. The real kicker I want to mention for this team, for once in the grand script of Osu, a team 4-way FC'd Nomad 1. Oh my goodness. They actually did it. 18 players, Fakaski included, FC'd Nomad 1 across the entire qualifier, 4 of them on this team being Nitro, Kerndy, HRDS, and Light. They checked in that 3.98 million team score on a Nomad map. That is absolutely beautiful stuff from the Russians here, showing why they continue to be one of the most dominant forces in this rank range overall. But of course, your number 1 team for the tournament out of qualifiers, the 96 Bulls have done it once again. The Netherlands are your seed 1. To everyone who told me after the prediction stream that I was overrating this team and that 2 good players do not make a soup, I want a written apology from every single person who told me I was smoking after that prediction stream. I want it in writing in my DMs. I also want a written apology from the Netherlands for this terrible name change collab that they did after the prediction stream. So I have to run down the cheat sheet for this as well. UC1 is OOB. I think it's way funnier at this point if I just keep saying OOB, so I'm going to keep saying OOB. UC2 is UC2, UC3 is Selene, UC4 is XD, UC5 is Chesseat, UC6 Unveiled Golem, UC7 is Nibble, and UC8 is just Lucan. The Dutch have brought themselves all the way up to first place using the magical powers of Michael Jordan herself. Selene was the number 4 overall performer in the qualifiers with the number 1 in div scores on Nomad 2 and Nomad 4. That Nomad 2 score was an SS as well, obviously Nomad 4 being an FC, along with a free mod 1 hidden FC and a 700k average across 10 maps played. But if you thought that was good, UC2, the number 2 performer for the entirety of qualifiers, but I personally think he did better than everyone. With a 770k average across 10 maps, cleanly in the top 100 of every map he played, he hosts by far the number 1 score on Hidden 2 with his FC and additional FCs on Nomad 1, Nomad 2, Hard Rock 1, Hidden 1, DT 1, and Free Mod 1 with Hidden. That is 7 FCs total. UC2 is consistency incarnate, and I would be extremely fearful for all who may come across them in bracket, especially on any 1-slot pick. XD and Unveiled Golem, UC4 and UC6 had an average of 500k plus over 7 maps as well, bringing some pretty solid backing for the team. This roster is fantastic overall. They were top 3 on 5 maps and top 10 on every single map, except for DT1. No other team can come even close to saying that, I think. We should be noting that the first place qualifying team does have yet to actually win the tournament. Every team that has won the 5WC thus far in years past has not been the first out of qualifiers. Chile, even in 2021, were the 18th seed out of qualifiers. They managed to win that. So anything is possible here. The Netherlands have a lot to prove in this bracket stage, and I am wishing the best for them. I have a lot of faith in Selene, UC2, and the rest of the 96 Bulls, including Dennis Rodman, aka OB. That is going to be it for the seed reveal stream. Sorry, it's a little bit short. I am sick, and I did these notes literally like 10 minutes before the stream started. We are going to be back at around 16:30 UTC. That is 35 minutes from now for the round of 32 map pool reveal stream with Miles. My name is Bento. Thank you all for being here. I am out.